What's up, everybody? Let's sit on down and talk about the Xbox Games Showcase and the top games that I saw, whether it be because of their fiction, whether it be because of their focus, or just something that I thought was a little bit weird. There are a lot of games that they showed that I actually want to check out. These are my top ones, as well as some honorary mentions at the end. If you guys like the video, give it a thumbs up. I would love for you to subscribe. But if you don't want to subscribe to me, go find a YouTuber that maybe you've watched and haven't subscribed to and hit subscribe to them. It's the least you can do for free content. Let's jump into this. If you were watching the event, you got to see a ton of Kojima's new game. He was going to create a brand new experience. Kojima said it's a completely new game that no one has ever seen before. And actually that checks out because we didn't see anything at all. He came out, said he was working on a game and disappeared. But I wanted to mention that because it's something that we had talked about on the podcast many moons ago about them working together. And we are now seeing it, most likely the horror game. But number one, gotta be Plague Tale Requiem by Asobo. You know a game might have a chance of being good when one of its main characters is a reverse Pied Piper, blasting out wicked tunes on a spirit pan flute and sending rat hordes after his enemies. After playing the original game and loving it, knowing that there was a sequel was a highly anticipated point already. The trailer didn't disappoint. Two siblings tear-assing through the dark country, packing up thousands of friends who roll the character class Rodentia. Requiem looks incredible. This time, the two have traveled to a mysterious island as Hugo's powers come back alive, and they're consistently outwitting enemies, outsmarting followers, and barely outrunning the powers that may end up killing him this time. New weapons, new enemies, new puzzles, and new powers means this little game that could has turned into a little sequel that may. And by may, I mean be an absolute hit like the first game. The gameplay is solid originally. The situations they throw you at have always been awesome. Plague Tale Requiem is looking to nail it. I cannot wait for this game. Another one I can't wait for, Last Case of Benedict Fox by Plot Twist. Channeling great 2D games from the last two generations, a bit of Limbo, a bit of Flashback, and more than a little Elder Cthulhu things, Benedict Fox had it where it was going on, which was the atmosphere. Also, when the main demon knows your name, it's probably best not to go into his house and kick the shit out of stuff. But Benedict doesn't seem to know that. It's a 2D adventure where apparently the investigator that you play also has a consistent interplay with the creatures themselves that you battle, as well as maybe one within yourself. A unique art aesthetic as well as incredible backgrounds meant that this trailer, it just kept delivering from start to finish. Thick, catchy jazz and a demonic voice start the trailer out, and from there, it's just this incredible lightning, demonic worlds and battles between the main character and all sorts of creatures for the next couple minutes. The dark promise that this hero is given will hopefully drive us through what looks to be a solid 2D platformer with both ranged and melee combat, as well as what could probably be a highly interesting story. Hollow Knight, Silksong. It's true, Xbox actually had a lot of platformers at this event, but Silksong, a Hollow Knight game, seems to be perfectly encapsulating the quick twitch mixed with stellar combat and off-color world designs that made that original game a masterpiece to so many people. Insane combos, moving backgrounds, multi-level jumping puzzles, and a ton of enemies, most of them looking like they're wearing skull masks from Halloween. Just start this trailer off, and it continues to go from there. Any game you probably need to fight a boss character to just get the start button to work is Hollow Knight already. Silksong looks incredible. I don't know if it's multiplayer, but that would also be very cool. And next up, Forza Motorsport. So Forza is returning, minus the numbered title, but with unlimited ray tracing in the races, and that's a trade-off I can deal with. These guys already know how to make a really good racer, even people who hate everything. I have to admit, there's a lot of people out there like that, most likely know something in the Motorsport series that is actually very well done. Tremendous gains in the looks department here for a game that never really looked bad originally. Ray tracing actually during the races and damage down to the individual scratches. The trailer was one camera that moved from the races to trackside, zoomed in on some grass because everybody knows we got to see that, and shows off the game's completely time-driven weather and lighting. Which means if your ass can handle a long smashing in a racing seat, you might blow through a sunset or two on your ride to a checkered flag. We didn't get much idea on the true content of the game coming out, but the Motorsport team has always known how to handle racing games, at least within their echelon, and I have no issues with this title. I think it looked awesome. We'll just have to see if people can pull themselves away from the other Forza title, which is, of course, Horizon. Speaking of Horizons and broad ones, the next one up, Starfield by Bethesda. 1,000 planets, 100 systems, fully customizable ships, background traits that can give you homes to live in, even without using the game's hub-based outpost building system that, by the way, looks incredibly upscaled compared to Fallout 4's, as well as a set of parents that you can have that live out there somewhere in the world. Starfield was a lot of content they showed, and it showed that Bethesda itself is looking to aim down the sights and blast away at least some or a few of the issues, even ones that I have for their games in the past. No longer is a city run by the same damn 9 characters trading $10 between themselves and running somehow a massive city's economy. They really did continue to show layer upon layer, and one of those was starting you out by putting you in the boots of a minor explorer and really giving you the idea that it's going to be open reign. You have party members to hire, but you can also hire people to run your base or to work in your ship. But even more importantly, you can, of course, not only customize the ship, but fly it around, dogfighting in the exospheres of these planetary systems that you see. My plan to make a ship with one engine so it just flies sideways all the time and killing all my crew but never removing their bodies is just one step closer to fruition, and I want to thank them for that. As a game on a late mend of a delay, it actually looks exactly where I expected it to be technically. It wasn't necessarily solid, but if it was solid now, they would have released it now. Some of the issues aside, Starfield looks like it could be exactly what I want from one of their games. We'll just have to wait and see, but what we saw was a damn step above what I was expecting. And that brings us to some other games I wasn't expecting, and I'm just going to do some honorable mentions for. High on Life. So listen, I dig Rick and Morty. It's just a plain fun romp through a nightmare that you would have if your grandpa was a dimensional time-traveling psychopath. Here, the shooter has all kinds of crazy weapons and skills, and you can see them blasting off and just taking out enemies, taking on a drug cartel. You rock all kinds of different weapons that are very reminiscent of Stranger's Wrath living squirrel ammo. And I get it, this may not be the tightest of gameplay, we'll have to see, it's all over the place for sure, but that Rick and Morty style that I actually expect appears to be in the game. So to me, this one actually looks like it'll be just good, weird fun, especially when they brought out the murderous Care Bears at the end with their Care Bear stare. Another big surprise for many was Persona and the multiple titles being released there. So a number of titles are dropping for the Xbox individually, but Persona 5 is probably the biggest one for a lot of people. So you weirdos with 150 hours in the game can do another 150 hours if you want to here. I'm just joking. If you haven't played this game, you may want to check it out. It certainly is a unique title, and I actually quite enjoyed it, though I wasn't as big of a fan of the prior Persona games. This is a big get for Microsoft, who's been wanting these titles on their system for a long time, and certainly a lot of fans who want to. And then we see Flashback 2. Now, I want to be clear here. I like the original Flashback, and I was excited to see this, but the trailer makers decided to project the video onto various items in the trailer, lending to one of the most confusing moments in this entire show, actually causing a lot of people to not even know what games they were seeing at that time. Was it a different game? Flashback is a big all-time classic favorite of mine. I can't wait to see it. I do think that that trailer was just out of control, didn't make a lot of sense for a lot of people, and they really should have cleaned that up. But as a fan of the old-style 2D platformers like that, Heart of the Enemy, Flashback 2, those kind of things, this is right up my alley, and I'm actually very excited to see it. Another one that I'm not exactly excited to see, but we did see more of, is Redfall by Arcane. This is the vampires and guns. It's a 4-person shooter, typical Back 4 Blood kind of game. You know, Arcane's got the chops. I'm a big fan of Arcane, but what I saw there in that game didn't really cause me to sit up and say, that's going to be the shit, and I can't wait to see it. However, I have been wrong on a couple of these games in particular, or some of these games have come out and then patched themselves up into really good states and been good and playable. Redfall itself isn't necessarily for me, but I wanted to put it on an honorable mention here because, hey, they went out there, they showed it, it is Arcane, so at the very least, it's a company that I trust to make pretty good games anyway. It's just not necessarily the look, the genre, or the overall feeling for the game that I was expecting. And Microsoft continued to announce things I don't think a lot of people expected. Riot Games coming to the PC Game Pass with all the heroes unlocked on multiple versions, PC, and for most of them mobile. That was quite surprising. Not a big fan of those games, but the idea that they're all there, very cool. And lastly, Flintlock. This is a game that looked both awesome and not so much as the game continued to progress. A44 Games, who made Ashen, are making this. It looks at times a little bit like an Ashen, and then many other times looks far more ambitious than that. The control scheme where you control with this little fennec fox flying creature, I enjoyed that. I thought some of the battles looked very cool. But at the same time, this is early. what I saw did look really interesting to me, and they're now saying that this will be a early 2023 launch. So it does have a lot of time for us to get a bit more of an idea of what exactly is being presented there. So anyway, those are mine. I would like to know what you guys think. Were you excited about Minecraft Legends, which I know when I watched it, I was completely surprised. You got Gunfire Reborn and Lightyear Frontier. What did you like? What did you dislike? Put it in the comments. I would love for you to give it a thumbs up, share it wherever you can, check out Facebook, Twitter, Reddit, and so forth. Next video you'll see from me is probably another one of these for the PC event. You'll see a review. And remember, as Vin Diesel always says, we're all family.